What's up guys, Larry Chen here. Welcome to another episode of Hoonigan Autofocus. Today we're actually at the Henry Ford Museum and I just had a chance to check out the new exhibit. What is it called?
Driven to Win.
Driven to Win. Melissa is here to show us around, but legitimately we just watched the film and honestly I actually got emotional. I really did, and they pushed super hard and they went around 2019, I'm guessing.
2019 and a little bit into 2020 before everything shut down.
Right, so they filmed this piece that is just beautiful. Like, it's unbelievable how much emotion and just the storyline that you guys, I guess, took the audience on.
For sure.
You know, and it's, I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate it outside of the racing world, and that's kind of the point.
Yes.
You guys filmed it
Yes.
in a way to, I guess, appeal to the normal audience.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, I have such a personal story with a lot of this stuff. Like, I've had a chance to shoot Brittany Force quite a bit, and of course, the Pikes Peak part of the story with Tim Hardy. I have hundreds of photos of him, you know, and in fact, there was one part, you guys will have to come here to see the whole film, but there's one part of the film at the starting line at Pikes Peak where I'm like, I know exactly where I was, just a little bit right to the camera during the filming of that, and like, I don't know, it's just everything about it. Also the iconic locations that they touch on, including Pomona Raceway, which is my home track.
Okay.
It's just, we live about 8 miles from that track, so it's like our home track, and I don't know, it's just really legitimately American racing kind of put into one short segment.
For sure, and that was the whole point of it, right? The point was to bring people in who've never had any exposure to racing, get them in that theater and inspire them. And I think you touched on that. That emotion that it brings out in you, like the adrenaline that it gets pumping inside of you. There's something about being there on race day that is almost addictive, right? It's that addictive energy. And I really think that we did bring that out in the film as someone who has gone to races. That was what we were hoping to do. And highlight these areas of racing that are truly American and truly stand out. Like Indy 500 is the quintessential American race. Same with Daytona 500, Pikes Peak, Bonneville Salt Flats. Those were really important to us to highlight, not only in the exhibit, but also in the movie.
I also love the fact that, again, you guys will have to come here to Michigan to check out the film and also check out the exhibit and of course the rest of the museum. But I also like the fact that it wasn't just focused on the racers.
No.
It was focused also on backyard, home-built race cars like the amateur racer, as well as the professional and also crew members.
Yeah, we focused on Brianna Daniels, who's the first African-American woman to ever work on a pit crew in the Daytona 500 and also in NASCAR, and showcase the work that these pit crew members go through. It's not just changing tires, it's building the muscle to do it in a quick way. It's that hand-eye coordination and being put in the middle of danger, as she mentions in the video. Yeah,
for those of you guys who don't know, a lot of NASCAR pit crew people are college athletes.
Yes.
Right? And they can move so fast, and they have to carry the jack, and they have to carry the tires, and jump out of the way if they need to.
Yeah.
A lot of times. So they have to be really quick on their feet.
Very quick.
But I want to actually tour a little bit of this exhibit, but we actually have kind of like a working history together in a way.
A 6 degrees of separation,
Yeah,
very, very small separation.
Tell us a little bit about your history with Ford and in the racing.
So I started my career in public relations with Ford Performance, working with the agency that does a lot of their communications. And one of the racers that I worked really closely with early on in my career was Vaughn Gettin. Or not, well, I would categorize him as a drifter.
Yeah, ultimate fun haver over here.
Yeah,
right?
ultimate fun haver. Vaughn was awesome. And so we have that connection also with Ken Block and the folks at Hoonigan. So yeah.
Well, awesome. I'm so glad you're here showing us around because it's interesting, you know, being able to kind of relate, I guess, to the younger generation of racing. And I think that's kind of the point of this. It's definitely 100% the point of this is to introduce a lot of racing history to the younger generation. I mean, you mentioned before we walked in here how many field trips, school trips are coming through here during normal times.
Yes.
It's got to be insane. They're just literally busing them in.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're here April through June during regular time, it's usually about 8,000 kids a day in the museum or out in Greenfield Village. I always say it's the quintessential like moment when you're an elementary school student here in Michigan or Ohio or Indiana is taking a field trip here to the Henry Ford.
Cool. Okay, so where should we start?
Let's start at the front.
Okay.
So the front of the exhibit, which is presented by GM, you'll see over here the Pinewood Derby. So that I'm sure is going to get a lot of play with kids of all ages. I know, I guess I was in here Thursday and we were playing around with it.
Oh, there.
Yeah, there's
I do have a photo.
We do. You do have a photo.
Oh, look. And my name is here too.
You're in an exhibit, Larry. Oh my God.
This is legitimately real life. Like I even just glanced over this. I was wondering, I was like,
I knew Vaughn was in here somewhere.
I've only been shooting racing for about 16 years. Okay. So it's kind of like the last very little bit in terms of racing history, you know? So I was thinking like, there's no way anything of mine would be in this.
You got
two? Yeah, I got 2 photos, which one of the other ones I'll show you later, which honestly was one of my favorite photos of all of 2018. So yeah, there's one right there.
I knew when earlier, like, is Vaughn in here? I'm like, he's in here somewhere. I just don't remember. But yeah, this area right here talks about the legendary drivers and stars in race car. And Vaughn being one of them, along with Dale Earnhardt, Richard Petty, the King, as many people know him as, Mario Andretti. So across all racing, this exhibit highlights not just one area of racing, it highlights multiple, which is pretty unlike anything else here in the United States. You'll go to the NASCAR museum, you'll go to the other museums, and they're very specific towards the style of racing. And this encompasses as much American racing as we can, so.
Okay, so like the elephant in the room, or the Ford Fiesta in the room, is Ken Block's actual Gymkhana FIVE car, which I've had a chance to photograph so many times. And that's the fun thing for me. It's like things that I've photographed are starting to become part of history, especially in racing. And this is still, without a doubt, a lot of people say the best Gymkhana film.
Yeah.
Who knows, maybe Travis Pastrana is going to eventually do something just as great. I mean,
you never know.
You never know. Like Gymkhana 2020, the last one, was amazing. But there's something about just taking over San Francisco.
Right.
Like something else.
I mean, and the streets of San Francisco, which everyone can picture in their head, right? This was an important car for us to get. In fact, it's one of the newest pieces in this exhibit in our museum. We just acquired it like late last year. Worked with Ken on getting it here, and just highlighting how many people have seen this video is insane to me. And having the actual video as part of the exhibit was also important to us, so people could kind of understand. Because while newer generations who are on YouTube, they're searching this stuff, they've probably seen it. People like my parents' age have never seen this before. So this kind of gives an introduction to a newer style of auto artistry, as I would like to call it. It's not just, it's a whole different type of style of driving.
Yeah, and the thing is, the views are going to keep going.
Yeah,
it's going to keep going, especially with people coming through here.
Exactly.
I know what's going to happen during normal times is it's going to be a huge crowd here.
Just to watch a video. Just to watch a video. And not only do we have his car, but we have his whole race Like his hat, his helmet, his shoes, his glasses, his race suit, pretty much everything but Ken Block.
Yeah. Well, eventually that'll happen too. Well, Ken's here, but
I mean, he's
I'm sure
here.
he'll come and hang out. So yeah, can we take a look at some of the other stuff? Let's start out here.
Yeah, so this is at the front for a reason. This is Henry Ford's sweepstakes car. So this is kind of the car that started Ford Motor Company. So Henry, probably not known as a race car driver to many people, but he built this car, he raced it in a race here in the area, and with the money that he received from it, he was able to start an iteration of Ford Motor Company. So this car pretty much started it all. And what I find so interesting about it is if you saw this car in its element without the mannequins on it, you wouldn't really understand, how do you drive it? How do you sit on it? It's really important to show Spider Huff, his mechanic, on it, because it kept it stable. Because when you went around the turns and got to a certain speed, that car could tumble and turn,
It
be
looks
very
like
dangerous.
a piano. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like a working car, but it's
not.
crazy that it is an actual car. And they raced in the dirt or
They
clay.
did, and that's another unique thing about this exhibit, is we tried to showcase the environment that these cars raced in. They're not all races and areas are the same, and so I think that's one thing people should understand. This was obviously a dirt track, and a lot of drivers have actually driven the replica of this car. We have a replica version of Sweepstakes, and in fact, Brad Kozlowski a couple years ago drove it at Michigan International Speedway, and he was just like floored by how scary it was.
Going slow on something like this is way scarier than going 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, agreed.
So surfaces, what you were mentioning about
Yes.
that's actually also a difference between what Ken Block is doing all-wheel drive donuts on and versus Barney Oldfield.
Yep, correct. Barney Oldfield, for his time, was the Ken Block of his day, if you will. He was the daredevil. He was the driver du jour everyone wanted to have driving their cars. In fact, this is the car that he drove for us, 999. He drove, I believe, for Henry Ford many times as well. So, because after Henry drove the sweepstakes, he was like, I'm done driving. I'm gonna get someone else who can do this.
I love this. Rarely seen without his trademark cap and cigar.
I mean, if that doesn't tell you about the changes of generation, I don't know what would. But yeah.
Let's move on to this. I know you already mentioned a little bit about this.
Yes, so this is Old 16. It's actually I call it the auto enthusiast favorite. In fact, I think it's one of Jay Leno's favorite cars when he comes here to see it. He's actually been underneath the car to see the oil before. That's how much he loves this car. But this car raced in the Vanderbilt Cup, and it was the first American race car to win this race. So 1904. So this car, pretty big deal.
I love the wooden wheels.
I do too. I love all the bronze in it, and I also love that you see the number. You know what I mean? Like that, to me, a number on a vehicle symbolizes a race car, right?
So we're gonna touch lightly, just briefly, on a lot of these cars, but without a doubt, I'm gonna say it again, you have to come here and actually be literally 1 foot away from these cars.
Yeah, I mean, you're super close. That's the great thing. One thing we love about working here at the Henry Ford is creating immersive experiences for people, because history shouldn't be stagnant, right? It should be an environment that you can create to really get people inspired. And I think this exhibit does that.
Cool, let's move on to here.
Yeah.
I see the salt. In the film, they talk about how it's like the 8th wonder of the world, and I do have to say it is, and it's something that everybody should at least experience one time in their life, because what people don't realize when you look at it, you look at it and it seems like it's solid, but it's not. It's actually wet all the time, and it just crumbles.
And it's certain, it has to have certain conditions, weather conditions, for them to even race on it. I know many times during the Salt Flats, they'll schedule the Bonneville Salt Flat races for you know, certain times, and then they'll have to cancel them because the weather conditions just don't add up. So these vehicles that are part of this exhibit, probably the most notable one is right over here, which is the Goldenrod, which was the fastest car for the longest time, I think until 1991. My curator would probably correct me on that, but it held a land speed record for more than 25 years, which is a really big deal. And it looks like a rocket.
It does. It's definitely a goldenrod.
It is.
I have to point out, I love the fact that you guys, I think 3D printed these things so people can actually touch it and kind of feel the shape of it, especially maybe those who can't see as well,
exactly.
right?
So accessibility is incredibly important to us as an organization, and with this exhibit being brand new, we looked at different ways to make sure it was more accessible to everyone. So you'll see this on every single stand, a 3D printed version of the car that's ahead of you. So people who have visually impaired, or people who need that sensory feeling, they can touch that. So, and same with over here. This is also a great example of this. You can feel what the Bonneville Salt Flats would feel like. So I love that.
Awesome.
As well.
Cool. Let's move on to here.
Yes. So this is
our. Yeah. Before we go to that, I gotta do this. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No.
I'm sorry. So this is 2018. This is actually when Romain Dumas broke the overall record by a lot at Pikes Peak, and Volkswagen actually hired us to kind of cover that on the stills portion. And this is one of my favorite corners to shoot at, and I'm so happy that one of my photos made it to this.
Yeah, two photos.
Yeah, two photos.
Two photos, not one but two. Who knows what else we might see along the way.
Who knows?
There's a whole lot of exhibit left. No, I love that, and you'll see some stuff. We're still working on the exhibit. It opens in March officially, so a lot of it is still underway of creating. This area over here is probably going to be one of the busiest areas, and that's because this is our champions row. So these are the cars that are quintessential racing history. So you have the GT, which won the race in 1967, driven by Dan Gurney and AJ Foyt. So the first American race car team to win the Le Mans.
Yeah.
So
that is.
And one of my favorite things about this car that I'll point out is the Gurney bubble.
Oh yeah, because he's too tall.
He was so tall. So tall, so they had to put the bubble in to fit him in the car.
That's hilarious. I mean, because otherwise he would just be like this for 24 hours, you know?
And that's a long time to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, that is so funny.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite points about this car, is that Gurney bubble. So
yeah. I mean, the thing one of the things I think that people don't notice right away also is these were right-hand drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and weirdly enough, I think still right-hand shifting for whatever reason. I guess the linkage was that side, but can I show this?
So this is actually, right here is something that we drew. Our team drew this to kind of get an idea of what the exhibit was going to look like. So these are renderings. They're beautiful though.
But it actually looks like it.
Yeah, you can see it.
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
Like, even to the lighting conditions. Yeah. I mean, I guess you guys probably modeled off of something like that.
Yep. That it's fun to see that. Like, not only is this great for racing enthusiasts, but it's also great to see the work that's gone into it from the exhibits team to really make this an amazing exhibit.
All right, let's move on here.
Yeah. So we have the Miskowski, also another AJ Foyt vehicle. AJ's pretty big in this. Oh, another thing I forgot to show you. I think it's over here. You can kind of see it. It's Carroll Shelby's cowboy hat.
Oh, it's his actual hat?
Yeah, and I noticed this Thursday and when I was in here, and I was freaking out. I was like, I did not know we had this. So it's, Carroll Shelby's hat, along with a recreation of the steering wheel signed by everyone that was involved in the 67 win.
I love that. You better win.
Yeah, the original, written by Henry Ford II. So that, yes, we love that too.
You better win.
You better win. No other option, right?
Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah, so, and then you come around here, again, still a work in progress, but we have the Lotus Ford, which Jim Clark drove to victory at the Indy 500 in 1965. Cool story about this is that the Wood brothers, who are mostly notable for NASCAR, their pit crew worked on this car and helped Jim Clark to victory. So I always love it when the Wood brothers are in, because not only do they look at this car, they have another car in the exhibit. So, and they love watching people look at their cars. Like, they come in just to watch people engage with the cars.
Here's something that I noticed that is something. This is a museum, you know, and this is, as you said, a permanent exhibit.
Yeah.
This is really also, you guys are preserving these cars.
We are.
Because everyone is lifted so the tires don't actually touch the ground.
No.
Because otherwise it would ruin the tires.
It would ruin the tires.
A lot of these times the tires are original tires.
They are.
From the Win, and some of the cars, as we've seen, are in racing condition.
Yes, they are.
As soon as they finished the race, they were shut off, put away, not cleaned at all,
Yep.
put into the trailer, and then taken to some storage facility.
Exactly, exactly. And this car has actually driven since 1965 multiple times. We've taken it to Goodwood. Dario Franchitti has driven it at Goodwood. He's also driven it at the Indy 500 again during the 50th anniversary of the win. So we do try with some of the more historical race cars, if we can, to conserve them so they can race again and can be experienced by audiences today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's move on here.
Yeah, the 1956 Chrysler 300B. So this is one of the ones that it's so interesting because it looks like a regular car, right? I always love looking at this vehicle and thinking, like, race cars didn't always look like race cars either. They looked like they're just driving what they had, you know, fitting it to how they could. And I believe this one, the Daytona, they qualified at Daytona Beach with the.
But the what people don't realize, this scene.
It's on the beach.
Yeah, you think it's maybe difficult to drive on the beach, but the sand, I've driven on the sand here.
Yeah.
And I've actually done a shoot on the sand at Daytona Beach, and it's actually really hard packed.
Yeah.
It's almost like clay.
Yes.
Yeah, if you just gun it, it'll actually push you forward because there is traction there. And to have like a big heavy boat like this on the beach, you know, it actually won't sink in. It actually has traction.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's another one that we've had, we've highlighted in other ways and got it back to working conditions as well. So this is a newer car to us. We just actually acquired this like in 2019. It's Rick Mears' Indy 500 car. Our friends at Penske were nice enough to lend it to us, and it's will be on display here for quite some time now.
Wow, I love the wheel design.
I know.
It's so weird.
I love the yellow. I just love the bright colors of racing.
Let's move here. Oh, I like this.
Yes.
This is a drag setup.
Well, did you do the drag setup? Gate? Did you do this?
Oh, no.
So
what
one
is
of
this?
the coolest things, again, back to the accessibility, so we have different levels, but we wanted people to feel racing. If they've never been to a drag strip, if they've never experienced a drag race, which I highly recommend you do once in your life, you just put your elbows down here, and you put your hands over your ears, and you can hear the cars.
Oh, it actually...
Yeah.
It actually...
You can hear them starting up.
What? Oh, because it's the vibration.
Yes.
Oh.
It's the vibration of it all.
What's funny is some people don't believe me when I say this, but I legitimately live 8 miles away from Pomona Raceway.
Yes.
But I can hear the Top Fuel cars when they run.
I believe it.
If I cannot make it to the race, I legitimately walk out of my house and I stand in the middle of my yard and I could hear the like from that far away.
I believe it.
Yeah, they're so loud, and
they're
honestly,
so loud.
A lot of people. I wear a floppy hat a lot of times to protect me from the sun.
Yes, of course.
Also, one of the reasons why I'm wearing it is because it has a strap. Because one time I was wearing a regular baseball cap, and I walked by a Top Fuel car, and I actually blew my hat away and onto the track. Yeah, that was definitely scary.
That would be scary. That would be very scary.
But it happened.
You can also smell what burnt rubber smells like too. So that's, again, cool stuff that we've added to the exhibit to enhance the experience.
The thing to really enhance the experience is if there's a thing that pokes your eye to like show what it's like to get hit by nitro. So then you start crying right away.
I've been at the starting line one time, my first drag race ever. They put me at the starting line. I'm dressed in my white Ford racing shirt, and I was not prepared for the amount of rubber thrown my way.
Plus it shakes your entire body.
Your whole body.
Well, it shakes your eyeballs so you can't actually see straight.
No. I came back and they were all laughing. I took off my glasses and I was just gray.
But I really like this setup. I think this is super cool. You know, a lot of people don't get to go to a drag strip. They don't actually know what it's like. And I think this is a cool setup.
I think so too. And you'll be able to see video of them driving once we're open, and that's rolling. Speaking of cars that are fresh off the track.
Yeah.
This is Trevor Bain's 2011 Daytona 500 car from the Wood Brothers Racing. And what I love about this car is our conservation team constantly works to preserve it in its condition, including taking anytime we have any confetti that falls on the ground, taking sugar water and coating it and putting it back on.
Well, essentially there's a lot of sugar water on here because as you saw, you were there during this actual race. They sprayed a bunch of Gatorade.
Yeah, Trevor wasn't old enough to drink. In fact, I think his 21st birthday was the next day. So he wasn't old enough to drink, so they couldn't spray him with champagne, which is traditional. So they used Gatorade and just throw Gatorade. In fact, there's a Gatorade bottle still in the car.
No way. Okay, so this is like one of those things where it's like, it takes it to the next level of, you know how sometimes when you buy a used car, you find like little trinkets like sometimes later or it's like under the seat or whatever. In here, there's still a Gatorade bottle. How cool is that?
It's super cool. And also very cool, the Wood Brothers allowed anyone who worked on the car had part of the car to write their name on it. So this is a tradition that they do as a team. Anytime they win, they write on the car. So I thought that's pretty awesome too. A lot of my friends that I know have names on there. So
awesome.
It's one of the cooler things. Behind there also, so what people, I think, obviously people who follow you would know, these people are athletes. They have to be in top physical shape to drive these vehicles. And so we have a driver training area over here where you can test your hand-eye coordination, you can test the G-forces. It gives you a little bit, we worked with Pit Fit out of Indianapolis, and they helped us set this up to kind of recreate the what drivers have to do to go through some of that mental training.
Yeah, there's even like an app for drag racing where it actually there's a Christmas tree on your phone and you test to see how fast your reaction time is. Yeah.
And this is another, I'm gonna say this area over here, another immersive hands-on experience. So you can see how good your pit skills would be. You can do it against 2 teams or just 1.
Wait, so you actually use real lug nuts here, or how does that work?
It's on, magic, but they work so you're not taking the tire off.
Oh, you put or you take the impacts and you put them on the lug nuts and you actually tighten them.
Yes. And then fuel the vehicle, jacket, all that fun stuff.
So yeah, one of my favorite things to do when I go to NASCAR races is I take a handful of those yellow lug nuts.
Yeah.
Anytime because they're all around pit lane, because they just throw them away. So I'm like, oh, this is a fun little
cool memento keepsake of each thing. And over here, so the area that's going to be here is our simulator. So you'll actually get to drive in a simulator similar to the ones that drivers use to train with, get prepared for race day virtually, and you can actually go against 6 people. So this might not be open right away when we open, but it'll be open eventually.
I love this so much, the window net that's used as like a fencing for this.
We really went all in with the details when it comes to the little, like the gate and some of the stuff over at the drag strip, like trying to make sure that it felt like a real racing experience, if you will.
This is going to be a really popular car here, without a doubt.
Yes, it is.
Yes, C5R.
It is.
Yeah.
It definitely is. This is also a new vehicle for us, so we just received this one as well. And so a lot of people might be familiar with our racing collection that's been on the floor for years. Please be sure to come back because we have new vehicles in this exhibit, including this one. This is also a really cool experience.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been in here yet.
This blew my mind. I walked by it and I was like, I wasn't even ready for it.
So we worked with the folks at Multimatic to create this race shop, and they were so lovely to help us with the cutaway to show how closely the GT, the production GT, and the race car actually are to each other, along with the real clay model. Like, to me, that is one of the coolest things in this exhibit, because I don't think people really understand the depth of design work that goes into these vehicles. I mean, this looks like it's a real car.
Well, the thing is, a lot of people may not understand, with 3D printing and just 3D modeling, computers, all that stuff, the designers still have to make clay models.
Yes,
they still have to, because they need to see it in real life, and it's a lot more efficient, a lot quicker to just do clay, and then it's like, okay, maybe this panel needs to go out more. Let's add more clay, versus doing a whole 3D print or whatever. But it's really cool to see this here, and this is the actual one. Yeah,
it is. It's a Ford GT clay model. And then over here you'll see the pit box coverage from the 2016 Le Mans race. Right now Joey Hand's behind the wheel. And you can see like the lap times compared to other drivers, see them move up. And this is a part of racing that people don't normally get to see. The average person who even knows about racing really doesn't get to see unless you're in that box, right?
Well, what's crazy is a lot of times this stuff is not available to the public.
No.
Like, even for me as a journalist, when I go behind the pit box, I try my best not to show the screen.
Yeah.
Because it actually could give away some data.
Yeah, exactly.
But in terms of whatever.
So, yep, this is all actual data from the 2016 Le Mans Ford GT.
Wow.
It's really cool.
That is so, I've never seen anything like this. I'm so excited about this.
Yeah, I think anybody who's really into data will love it too.
I would just stay here for like an hour and just like watch the race.
You definitely could. So I don't think we touched on this area because we were focused on the champions area, but this is all Indy car racing, including the beginnings to I think 1984, and then the 1972 saltwater car. And this kind of talks a little bit about the dangers of racing, right? It's not all podium wins and champagne. It's dangerous. These people are putting their lives on the line. And so you can kind of see, luckily he made it from the race, he survived. And you can actually see the actual race footage. We share that as well.
But I mean, the crazy thing is somebody back then thought it was a good idea to save this stuff, because a lot of times when race cars crash now, it's like, oh, let's just throw it into the stands kind of thing, but that's cool that they actually
now they
thought to
saved
save it.
And they learned a lot from that car. So we wanted to make sure we highlighted that too, because racing is there is a lot of, part of the things that we share here is our Model Is, like the habits and actions of an innovator. And a lot of racing is innovation, right? So going back to the drawing board when something doesn't work and figuring out how to make it succeed. So, yeah.
Awesome. So this pretty much rounds it out, and then we
go to the hill climb.
Yeah, we finish. Oh, which, by the way, can't skip over this. This is an actual brick.
This is an actual historic Indy brick, so you can feel it.
Have you kissed the bricks?
I have not kissed the bricks. I didn't get that opportunity last time. I was in there 2015, didn't get a chance, but it's on my list.
I had a chance, but I didn't because I realized how many people kiss the bricks.
It's kind of gross. And now, thinking of the world we live in, you definitely don't want to kiss the bricks.
Maybe they have to sanitize the bricks every time before you kiss the bricks.
Exactly. So
this is so cool. Okay, so this. I actually had a chance to experience this corner before they paved it. So my first ever Pikes Peak race was in 2011 before they paved the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy that I had a chance to at least feel what it was like to drive on it and also photograph it one last time before it became all paved.
Yes.
Yeah, so I really like this exhibit.
And one of the other cool things is if you step up to the roadside right here, you can hear, it sends off a monitor that goes off, and you can hear what it sounds like at Pikes Peak. So you hear the audio, which is awesome.
Yeah, unfortunately this past year, there wasn't any spectators allowed.
Right.
But hopefully this year they'll change that, and you know, if you guys want to check out the race, definitely come out. It's one of the best races to spectate, without a doubt.
It's definitely a bucket list race.
So let's finish off the video outside. I know there's a couple cars outside, or
Yes.
at least one car outside.
One
right?
car that's
Yeah.
outside that will be inside soon.
Yeah, I think that's a good car to finish off on.
It is, because it's kind of hinted at during this whole entire, we actually were just experiencing the data behind it. So that's the one great thing too, is we don't just show the car, we show the info that goes behind it, right? Like it's the history of it all.
Yeah.
So
All right, so this car, so historic, still dirty, still has all the marbles,
Yeah.
still has all the dust from their win at Le Mans, Ford versus Ferrari in real life.
yes, so this is the 2016 Ford GT, driven by Joey Han and the rest of the team. And so this has been part of the our museum now for, I would say, since 2018 we've had this car. And it's great to compare the new vehicle to the 1967 too, to even see the differences in the design and changes that they made. So it's a great car to have.
This is so cool. Well, definitely, again, come out, check out the whole exhibit, check out the whole museum. It's a must-see if you're in the area at all. But thank you so much
Thank
again
you.
for showing us around. This is just such a treat. And legitimately, when I watched the film, first of all, my palms got sweaty. And then second of all, I just felt so emotional. It just like all hit me at once.
Yeah.
Also, another thing is, this is gonna sound so cliche, but it really did make me miss racing in its traditional form with fans. You know, we had a chance this past year to go to a lot of races with no fans.
Yeah.
And it was such a bummer.
I haven't been to a race without fans, but having gone to, like, I wasn't a race fan before I started working for Ford Performance. And when I started working for them and going to the races and the energy, it's just infectious. And the race fans make the sport, as do fans of any kind of sport, right? But the race fans are so passionate about their sport. They know their history. They know all the information. And you can't leave the racetrack without interacting with them, without getting a little bit of fandom too. So
there you go. With that said, I think that's a wrap.